Today our topic is why the Stoics believed in fate. The Stoics were ancient philosophers who thought deeply about life, nature, and how to live well. They believed that everything in the world happens for a reason, and that there is a kind of order or plan to the universe. This plan they called fate. Fati, for the Stoics, was not just a random series of events, but a connected chain of causes and effects. They believed that everything that happens is part of a larger, rational system. This belief in fate was central to their philosophy and helped them find peace and strength in difficult times. The Stoics believed that the universe is governed by a divine reason, which they called logos. This logos is like a universal intelligence that keeps everything in balance. It controls the stars, the seasons, and even the events in our lives. The Stoics thought that if we accept this logos and understand that everything happens according to its plan, we can live in harmony with nature. They believed that trying to fight against fate is pointless and only leads to suffering. Instead, they taught that we should accept what happens to us, even if it seems bad, because it is part of a greater plan that we cannot fully understand. One of the key ideas in Stoicism is the concept of Amor Fati, which means love of fate. This means that instead of complaining or being upset when things don't go our way, we should embrace whatever happens. The Stoics believe that every event, whether good or bad, has a purpose and can help us grow. For example, if you lose your job, it might feel like a disaster at first, but it could also be an opportunity to find a better one or to learn new skills. The Stoics would say that instead of resisting this change, you should accept it and look for the good in it. This attitude helps us stay calm and focused, even when life is hard. The Stoics also believe that fate is not something external that controls us. Instead, they thought that we have the power to choose how we respond to what happens. Even if we cannot control the events of our lives, we can control our thoughts and actions. This is where the famous Stoic idea of focusing on what is within our control comes from. They taught that we should not waste energy worrying about things we cannot change, like the weather or other people's opinions. Instead, we should focus on our own choices and attitudes, which are always within our power. This is why Stoicism is often seen as a philosophy of inner freedom. By accepting fate and focusing on what we can control, we can find peace and live a good life. Another reason the Stoics believed in fate is that they thought it helps us deal with fear and anxiety. When we know that everything happens for a reason, and that we cannot change the past or control the future, we can stop worrying so much. Instead of fearing what might happen, we can focus on the present moment and do our best with what we have. The Stoics believed that fear often comes from trying to control things that are not in our power. By accepting fate, we can let go of this fear and live more freely. For example, if you are afraid of losing someone you love, the Stoics would say that this fear is natural, but that it is better to focus on loving them now, while you can, rather than worrying about what might happen in the future. The Stoics also believed that fate teaches us humility. When we realize that we are not in control of everything, we become less selfish and more grateful for what we have. Instead of always wanting more or being upset when things don't go our way, we can appreciate the simple things in life. The Stoics thought that this humility is important for living a good life. It helps us to be kinder to others and to see ourselves as part of a larger whole. When we accept that we are not the center of the universe, we can live more peacefully and harmoniously with others. One of the most famous Stoic philosophers, Epictetus, was a slave who became a teacher. He taught that we should not be afraid of fate, but should see it as a guide. He said that when something bad happens, we should not ask, "Why did this happen to me?" but instead ask, "What can I learn from this?" This attitude helps us to see challenges as opportunities for growth. Epictetus believed that by accepting fate and learning from it, we can become stronger and wiser. He also taught that we should not be attached to material things or external success, because these things are not within our control. Instead, we should focus on developing our character and living with virtue, which is always in our power. Another important Stoic philosopher, Marcus Aurelius, was a Roman emperor. Despite his power and wealth, he believed in the importance of accepting fate and living a simple life. He wrote in his journal, which is now known as Meditations, that we should not be disturbed by external events, but should focus on our own thoughts and actions. He believed that by accepting fate and living with virtue, we can find true happiness. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that life is short and that we should not waste time on trivial things. Instead, we should focus on what is truly important, like being kind, honest, and courageous. The Stoics also believed that fate is not something to be feared, but something to be trusted. They thought that the universe is fundamentally good, and that everything that happens is part of a larger plan. Even when things seem bad, they believed that there is a reason for it, and that it will ultimately lead to something better. This trust in fate helps us to stay hopeful, even in difficult times. For example, if you are going through a hard time, the Stoics would say that you should trust that this experience is helping you to become stronger and more resilient. They believe that challenges are not obstacles but opportunities to grow. In conclusion, the Stoics believed in fate because they thought it helps us to live better lives. By accepting that everything happens for a reason, and that we cannot control everything, we can find peace and strength. The Stoics taught that, instead of fearing fate, we should embrace it and learn from it. They believe that by focusing on what is within our control and living with virtue, we can live a good life, no matter what happens. The Stoic belief in fate is not about giving up or being passive, but about finding freedom and peace within ourselves. It is a powerful reminder that we cannot control the world, but we can always control how we respond to it. By accepting fate and living with courage, humility, and gratitude, we can find true happiness and live in harmony with the universe.